The discovery. Dr. Maya Chen squinted at the holographic display, her dark eyes darting between rows of genetic data. Something wasn't right. She'd been staring at human genomes for the better part of 2 decades, but she'd never seen anything like this. "RIA, run the sequence analysis again," she commanded, her voice echoing in the sterile lab. "Certainly, Dr. Chen," the AI responded, its tone eerily human. "Analysis complete. Results remain consistent with previous iterations. Anomalous sequences detected in 78% of test subjects." Maya leaned back in her chair, rubbing her temples. The Genetic Enhancement Initiative had been her life's work, a top-secret project aimed at unlocking humanity's hidden potential. But this was unprecedented. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. "Dr. Chen, Director Hawthorne requests your presence in the briefing room immediately." Maya sighed, straightening her lab coat as she stood. "Tell him I'm on my way, Araya." The corridors of the underground genetic research facility were a maze of stark white and gleaming metal. As Maya made her way to the briefing room, she couldn't shake the feeling that something monumental was about to happen. Director Hawthorne was waiting for her, his usually composed demeanor showing cracks of worry. Beside him stood 2 figures Maya had never seen before. Their skin was a pale lavender, with large almond-shaped eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Aliens, the Galactic Council's observers. "Dr. Chen," Hawthorne nodded, his voice tense. "I believe you've made some interesting discoveries." Maya's gaze flicked between Hawthorne and the aliens. "Yes, sir. We've detected genetic anomalies in a significant percentage of our test subjects. It appears that the enhancement protocols are having unforeseen effects on human DNA." One of the aliens stepped forward, its movements fluid and graceful. "Dr. Chen, I am Zardik, lead scientist of the Galactic Council's observation team. Your findings are deeply concerning to us. We fear you may be unleashing forces beyond your comprehension." Maya bristled at the condescension in Zardik's tone. "With all due respect, our work here is pushing the boundaries of genetic science. Some anomalies are to be expected." The second alien, shorter and stockier than Zardik, spoke up. "Expected, perhaps, but controlled? We have seen civilizations tear themselves apart with less." Hawthorne cleared his throat. "Dr. Chen, the Council has requested that we halt all experiments immediately." Maya's heart raced. "Halt. Director, we're on the brink of something revolutionary. The genetic changes we're seeing could be the key to unlocking human potential beyond our wildest dreams." Zardik's eyes narrowed. "Or your worst nightmares, Doctor. The Council has seen species destroy themselves in the pursuit of such potential. We cannot allow Earth to follow the same path." Maya opened her mouth to argue, but Hawthorne cut her off with a sharp gesture. "I'm sorry, Maya. The decision has been made. Effective immediately, all genetic enhancement experiments are to cease." The room fell into a tense silence, broken only by the soft hum of the facility's systems. Maya's mind raced, calculating the implications of this setback. Years of work, countless breakthroughs, all to be shelved because of alien interference. "What about the test subjects?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Hawthorne's expression darkened. "They'll be placed in stasis until we can determine the full extent of the genetic changes. For their safety and ours." Maya's fists clenched at her sides. "You can't be serious. They're not lab rats, they're human beings. We can't just freeze them and forget about them." The shorter alien stepped forward, its voice surprisingly gentle. "Dr. Chen, we understand your concern, but the potential danger these individuals pose cannot be overstated. Until we fully understand the nature of these genetic anomalies, containment is the safest option for all involved." Maya looked from face to face, searching for any sign of support, but found only grim determination. She took a deep breath, forcing her voice to remain steady. "I'd like to oversee the stasis procedures personally, to ensure the subject's safety." Hawthorne nodded, relief evident in his eyes. Of course, Doctor. I'll have HFY grant you full access to the cryostasis wing. As Maya turned to leave, Zarek's voice stopped her. Dr. Chen, I hope you understand the gravity of this situation. The Council does not interfere lightly in the affairs of developing worlds. What you've stumbled upon here, it could change the course of human history. Maya met the alien's gaze, a chill running down her spine at the intensity she saw there. That's what I'm counting on, she replied, before striding out of the room. In the quiet of the corridor, Maya's mind whirled with possibilities. She couldn't let it end like this. Humanity was on the brink of something incredible, she was sure of it. And if the aliens and her own superiors couldn't see that, well, sometimes progress required breaking a few rules. As she made her way to the cryostasis wing, a plan began to form. It was risky, potentially career-ending, maybe even world-changing. But as she thought of the test subjects, volunteers who had put their trust in her and her team, she knew she had no choice. The future of humanity was at stake, and Dr. Maya Chen wasn't about to let it slip away without a fight. The emergence, the soft hum of cryostasis pods filled the air as Dr. Maya Chen moved through the dimly lit chamber. Her fingers flew across holographic interfaces, checking and double-checking the vital signs of each subject. 23 men and women, volunteers all, now suspended in frozen sleep while their bodies underwent changes beyond imagination. HFY Status report on Subject 17. Maya commanded, her voice barely above a whisper. Subject 17's vitals are stable. Dr. Chen, the AI responded. However, brain activity is showing unusual patterns. Recommend immediate. A sudden alarm blared through the chamber, cutting off HFY's words. Maya's head snapped up, her eyes widening as she saw the source. Pod 17 was malfunctioning, its occupant beginning to stir. No, 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 Maya muttered, rushing to the pod. HFY, begin emergency revival procedures. The pod's cover slid open with a hiss, revealing a young woman with close-cropped dark hair. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then snapping to Maya with startling clarity. Dr. Chen. The woman's voice was hoarse. What's happening? Maya helped her sit up, checking her vitals manually. It's all right, Zara. There was a malfunction in your pod. How do you feel? Zara blinked, her brow furrowing. I feel different, like there's electricity under my skin. Before Maya could respond, the lab's doors slid open. Director Hawthorne strode in, flanked by the two alien observers. Their expressions ranged from concern to barely concealed anger. Dr. Chen, explain this immediately, Hawthorne demanded. Maya stepped protectively in front of Zara. A pod malfunction, sir. I was just beginning emergency protocols. Her words died in her throat as Zara suddenly gasped, her body tensing. The air around her seemed to shimmer, and before anyone could react, every loose object in the lab began to float. Impossible, Zarek breathed, his alien eyes wide with a mixture of awe and fear. Zara looked around in panic, her hands outstretched. What's happening to me? Zara, try to calm down, Maya said softly, fighting against her own rising panic. Focus on your breathing. As Zara's breathing steadied, the objects slowly settled back to their places. The room fell into a tense silence, broken only by the continued beeping of the other stasis pods. Director Hawthorne was the first to speak. This is exactly what we feared. Dr. Chen, your experiments have gone too far. We're shutting down this facility immediately. You can't. Maya protested. We're on the brink of something incredible. Zara's abilities, they're beyond anything we imagined possible. The shorter alien stepped forward, its voice firm. Which is precisely why this must end now. Such power in unprepared hands could be catastrophic. Zara looked between them, confusion and fear evident on her face. I don't understand. What's happening to me? To all of us. Maya took a deep breath, weighing her next words carefully. The genetic enhancements we've been working on, they're changing you. Evolving you beyond normal human limitations. Evolving. Zara echoed, looking down at her hands in wonder. Zarek's voice cut through the moment. A dangerous evolution that must be contained, for the safety of your species and others. Maya felt a surge of anger. Contained. These are human beings, not lab specimens. Beings with the potential to destabilize the entire galaxy, Hawthorne countered. I'm sorry, Maya, but the decision is final. Security will be here shortly to begin evacuation procedures. As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. Maya's mind raced, knowing she had only moments to act. Zara, she said urgently, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? ARIA, initiate emergency revival for all subjects. Maya commanded. Belay that order, Hawthorne countered, but the AI remained silent, loyal to its primary programmer. Chaos erupted as the pods opened, disoriented test subjects stumbling out. Some immediately displayed abilities similar to Zara's, objects flying around the room as they struggled to control their newfound powers. Maya raised her voice over the commotion. Everyone, listen to me. We don't have much time. If you want answers, if you want freedom, come with me now. Without waiting for a response, she grabbed Zora's hand and ran for the emergency exit. Behind her, she could hear Hawthorne shouting orders, and the aliens arguing in their strange, musical language. As they raced through the corridors, other test subjects fell in behind them. Maya's heart pounded, knowing that she had just crossed a line from which there was no return. But as she glanced back at the confused, frightened, yet determined faces of her subjects, she knew she had made the right choice. They burst out of the facility into the cool night air. The forest surrounding the secret base provided immediate cover, but Maya knew it wouldn't last long. Keep moving, she urged the group. We need to put as much distance between us and the facility as possible. As they plunged deeper into the woods, the sound of alarms faded behind them. Maya's mind raced with possibilities and dangers. They were fugitives now, carriers of perhaps the most significant genetic breakthrough in human history. She had no idea what the future held, but one thing was certain. The world was about to change, and humanity was about to face its greatest challenge yet. In the sky above, unnoticed by the fleeing group, a sleek alien ship detached itself from the clouds. The Galactic Council would not let this development go unchallenged. The hunt was about to begin. The hunt. Captain Jake Torres stood at the helm of the stealth dropship, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of holographic displays. The craft hummed quietly as it skimmed over the dense forest canopy, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to both human and alien eyes. Any sign of them? Sarge, Jake called over his shoulder, eyes never leaving the terrain ahead. Sergeant Maria Alvarez, hunched over a complex array of sensors, shook her head. Nothing yet, Cap. But these enhanced humans are tricky. Their genetic modifications seem to interfere with our usual tracking methods. Jake nodded grimly. It had been 3 weeks since the breakout at the underground genetic research facility, and the world had descended into chaos. News of evolved humans with incredible abilities had leaked to the public, sparking both fear and hope in equal measure. The UN had quickly established a special task force to contain the situation, with Jake's team at the forefront. But they weren't the only ones hunting. The Galactic Council's ships loomed in orbit, a constant reminder of the alien ultimatum: contain the evolved humans or face intervention. Wait, Maria's voice cut through Jake's thoughts. I'm picking up something. Energy fluctuations, about 2 clicks north. Jake's hands tightened on the controls. That's got to be them. Alert the ground team. We're going in. The dropship banked sharply, heading towards the coordinates. As they neared, Jake could see a small clearing through the trees, and in that clearing, unmistakable signs of the fugitives they sought. Holy shit, Maria breathed, her eyes wide as she looked at the sensor readouts. Cap, you need to see this. Jake engaged the autopilot and moved to look over her shoulder. The display showed a swirling vortex of energy, centered on a single human figure. "Is that?" Jake started. Maria nodded. "It's Dr. Chen. And it looks like she's not just running anymore. She's fighting back." The dropship touched down at the edge of the clearing, and Jake's team poured out, weapons at the ready. But nothing could have prepared them for the sight that greeted them. Dr. Maya Chen stood at the center of the clearing, her arms outstretched. Around her, a dozen evolved humans moved in perfect synchronization, their bodies glowing with an otherworldly light. Rocks, leaves, and even small trees orbited them like a bizarre planetary system. "Dr. Chen," Jake called out, his voice amplified by his suit's speakers. "This is your last chance. Stand down and surrender peacefully." Maya turned to face him, her eyes blazing with an inner fire. "Captain Torres, I was wondering when you'd catch up." Jake took a step forward, his weapon lowered but ready. "You know we can't let this continue, Doctor. The risks are too great." "Risks?" Maya laughed, the sound echoing strangely in the charged air. "Captain, we are the next step in human evolution. We're not a risk. We're the future." Before Jake could respond, the sky above them shimmered. The sleek form of a galactic council ship decloaked, hovering ominously over the clearing. A voice boomed from the ship, speaking in flawless English. "This is Arbiter Zarek of the Galactic Council. Evolved humans, you have been deemed a threat to galactic stability. Surrender now, or we will be forced to take drastic action." Jake's blood ran cold. This was exactly the scenario they'd been trying to prevent. He turned back to Maya, his voice urgent. "Doctor, please, if you surrender to us now, we can protect you from them. We can find a way to work this out." For a moment, uncertainty flickered across Maya's face. But then one of the evolved humans stepped forward. Jake recognized her as Zara, the first to manifest abilities. "We're done hiding," Zara declared, her voice carrying a strength that belied her young age. "We're done being afraid. It's time to show the world, and the galaxy, what humanity is truly capable of." With a gesture from Zara, the swirling vortex of energy expanded, enveloping the entire group of evolved humans. Jake and his team were thrown back by an invisible force, their weapons torn from their hands. "I'm sorry, Captain," Maya's voice came from within the energy field. "But we can't go back. Not now. Not ever." The vortex pulsed once, twice, and then with a blinding flash and a thunderous crack, it imploded. When Jake's vision cleared, the clearing was empty. Dr. Chen, Zara, and the other evolved humans had vanished without a trace. Above them, the Galactic Council ship's engines flared to life. Jake's comm crackled with an incoming transmission. "Captain Torres," Zarek's voice was tight with barely contained anger. "Your species has failed to contain this threat. The Council has no choice but to escalate our involvement." As the alien ship streaked away, Jake slowly got to his feet, helping his stunned team members up. He stared at the spot where Maya and her group had disappeared, his mind reeling with the implications of what he'd just witnessed. "Cap," Maria's voice was hesitant. "What do we do now?" Jake took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. Now we prepare for war, Sarge, because I have a feeling that's exactly what's coming." As they made their way back to the dropship, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing at a crossroads of history. Humanity was changing, evolving before their very eyes. And whether that change would lead to their salvation or their destruction remained to be seen. One thing was certain: the hunt was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The rebellion. The abandoned subway station echoed with hushed voices and the soft hum of makeshift equipment. Dr. Maya Chen stood before a cracked mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back at her. Gone was the pristine lab coat, replaced by worn tactical gear. Her once neatly styled hair now hung in a messy ponytail. "Dr. Chen." Zara's voice pulled Maya from her thoughts. "The others are ready." Maya nodded, taking a deep breath before following Zara into what had once been the station's main concourse. Now, it served as the nerve center for their growing resistance. Dozens of evolved humans milled about, their faces a mixture of determination and fear. Some practiced their newfound abilities, levitating objects or manipulating energy fields. Others huddled over computers, monitoring news feeds and government communications. "All right, everyone," Maya called out, her voice carrying across the chamber. "It's time." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to her. Maya felt the weight of their expectations, their hope. She cleared her throat and continued. "For months, we've been running, hiding, trying to understand what we've become. But we can't hide anymore. The world knows about us now, and they're afraid. The government hunts us, and the Galactic Council threatens our entire species." She paused, looking from face to face. "But we are not the threat. We are the next step in human evolution, the key to our species' survival in a universe we're only beginning to understand. It's time we showed the world and the galaxy what we're truly capable of." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Zara stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. "What's the plan, Doc?" Maya gestured to a holographic display at the center of the room. "We've identified several key facilities around the globe: research centers, military installations, and communication hubs. We'll strike them simultaneously, demonstrating our abilities and our resolve." "And after that," someone called out. Maya's expression hardened. "After that, we negotiate, from a position of strength." As the group dispersed to prepare, Maya felt a presence at her side. She turned to find Marcus, a former Army Ranger whose genetic enhancements had gifted him with superhuman strength and durability. "You really think this will work?" he asked, his voice low. "That they'll listen?" Maya met his gaze steadily. "They'll have to. The alternative is a war none of us will survive." Across the city, in a nondescript office building, Captain Jake Torres stared at a wall of monitors, each displaying a different news feed. Reports of evolved human sightings poured in from around the globe, each more fantastical than the last. "Captain," Surgeon Alvarez's voice crackled through his earpiece. "We've got movement." Jake's hand moved to his weapon instinctively. "Where?" "Everywhere, sir. Multiple targets, striking simultaneously. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Jake's blood ran cold as he watched the feeds. In New York, evolved humans were dismantling tanks with their bare hands. In Tokyo, a group was redirecting a tsunami away from the coast. And in orbit, satellite footage showed a team of enhanced individuals constructing some kind of structure in open space without suits. "My God," Jake breathed. "They're not hiding anymore. They're making a statement." His comm unit buzzed urgently. "Torres," he answered. "Captain." Director Hawthorne's voice was tense. "The Galactic Council is mobilizing their fleet. They're calling it a containment action, but we both know what that means." Jake closed his eyes, his mind racing. Everything he'd been fighting for, everything he believed in, suddenly seemed hollow in the face of what he was witnessing. "Sir," he said slowly, "I don't think we can stop this. Maybe we shouldn't try." There was a long pause on the other end. "What are you saying, Captain?" Jake took a deep breath. "I'm saying that maybe Dr. Chen was right. These evolved humans, they're not the enemy. They might be our only hope against what's coming. Torres, if you're thinking of defecting." "Not defecting, sir. Adapting. Surviving. Isn't that what humanity does best?" Before Hawthorne could respond, alarms blared throughout the building. Jake looked up to see a figure hovering outside the window. Dr. Maya Chen herself. With a gesture, the window shattered, and Maya floated into the room. Jake raised his weapon instinctively, but didn't fire. "Hello, Captain," Maya said, her voice calm. "I think it's time we had a talk." Jake lowered his gun slowly. "I think you're right, Doctor." As they faced each other, the city erupting into chaos around them, both knew that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The rebellion had begun, but its outcome was far from certain. In orbit, the Galactic Council's ships began to move into attack formation. On the ground, governments scrambled to respond to a threat they barely understood. And caught in the middle were the evolved humans, fighting not just for their own survival, but for the future of their entire species. The next few hours would determine whether humanity would take its place among the stars, or be relegated to the dustbin of galactic history. The awakening had begun, and there was no turning back. The new dawn. The observation deck of the International Space Station had never been so crowded. Dr. Maya Chen stood at its center, surrounded by a mix of evolved humans, military personnel, and government officials. Captain Jake Torres was at her side, his presence a symbol of the uneasy alliance that had formed in the face of impending doom. Beyond the reinforced windows, the Earth hummed like a fragile blue marble against the vast darkness of space, and beyond that, visible even to the naked eye, loomed the Galactic Council's armada, a fleet of ships so massive they blotted out entire starfields. "They're hailing us again," announced a technician, her voice tight with tension. Maya nodded. "Put them through." The air shimmered, and a holographic representation of Arbiter Zarek appeared before them. His alien features were set in a grim expression. "Dr. Chen, Captain Torres," Zarek's voice resonated through the chamber. "This is your final warning. Surrender the evolved humans for containment, or we will be forced to take more drastic measures." Jake stepped forward. "Arbiter, with all due respect, we've been over this. These people are not a threat to be contained. They're the next step in our evolution, our best hope for survival in this galaxy." Zarek's eyes narrowed. "A step too far, too fast. Your species is not ready for such power. The risk to the galactic community is too great." Maya felt a surge of anger. "And who are you to decide that? Who gave the Galactic Council the right to determine the fate of entire species?" "Eons of experience," Zarek replied coldly. "We have seen civilizations rise and fall, watched as species with abilities like yours tore themselves, and others, apart. We will not allow it to happen again." As if to emphasize his point, the Council ships began to move into attack formation. Alarms blared throughout the station. "They're charging weapons," someone shouted. Maya closed her eyes, reaching out with her mind. All around her, she could feel the other evolved humans doing the same, their consciousness linking, forming a vast network of thought and power. "Dr. Chen," Jake's voice was urgent. "Whatever you're going to do it now." Maya's eyes snapped open, blazing with an inner light. "Arbiter Zarek." Her voice echoed with the combined power of all the evolved humans. "You say you've seen civilizations rise and fall. Well, watch closely. You're about to see one rise." With a thought, Maya and the other evolved humans reached out, their combined abilities stretching across the void of space. The Council ships shuddered, their weapons powering down, their engines going dark. "Impossible," Zarek breathed, his holographic form flickering. But Maya wasn't done. As the assembled humans watched in awe, the evolved began to glow, their forms becoming translucent, almost ethereal. Energy crackled around them, and suddenly they were everywhere at once, on the station, on Earth, on the Council ships, and in the vast emptiness between. "We are humanity." Maya's voice resonated across space itself. "We are evolution incarnate, the bridge between what was and what will be. We will not be contained, we will not be controlled, but neither will we conquer or destroy." The glow intensified, and suddenly, every being on every ship in the Council's armada found their minds linked, connected to the vast network of human consciousness. In an instant, they understood. The fears, the hopes, the dreams of humanity laid bare. And humanity, in turn, glimpsed the wonders and terrors of the galaxy, the weight of history that had led the Council to its harsh stance. As quickly as it had begun, the connection faded. The evolved humans returned to their physical forms, many collapsing from the effort. Maya herself swayed on her feet, supported by Jake. Zarek's hologram flickered back to life, the Arbiter's expression one of shock and awe. "In all my centuries," he said slowly, we have never. "Now you understand," Maya said, her voice hoarse. "We're not a threat to you. We're not conquerors or destroyers. We're explorers, dreamers. We want to join you among the stars, to learn, to grow, to help shape the future of this galaxy." There was a long moment of silence. Then, slowly, the Council ships began to power back up. Not their weapons, but their regular systems. "Perhaps," Zarek said finally, "we have been too hasty in our judgment. This is unprecedented. The Council will need to convene to discuss what has transpired here." Jake stepped forward. "And in the meantime," Zarek's holographic gaze swept the room. "In the meantime, we will watch and wait and hope that our trust is not misplaced." As the hologram faded and the Council ships began to retreat, a cheer went up from the assembled humans. Maya felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Jake, a mix of emotions playing across his face. "So," he said, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "What now, Doc?" Maya looked out at the earth, then at the stars beyond. The future stretched out before them, vast and unknown, filled with both promise and peril. But for the first time, she felt truly ready to face it. "Now, Captain," she said, her voice filled with determination, "we take our first steps into a larger world. We have a lot of work to do." As the station continued its silent orbit, the first rays of sunlight crept over the Earth's horizon. A new day was dawning, not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. The awakening was complete, but the true journey was only just beginning. In labs and classrooms, in homes and government chambers, humans both evolved and non-evolved began the monumental task of reshaping their society. The gifts of the evolved would be studied, understood, and eventually offered to all who wished to receive them. And in the vast reaches of space, word spread quickly of the species that had challenged the Galactic Council and emerged not as conquerors, but as equals. Humanity's reputation grew, a young race with ancient potential, bringers of change and harbingers of a new galactic order. There would be challenges ahead, dangers, and setbacks. But as Maya Chen looked out at the stars, she knew one thing with absolute certainty: humanity was ready. They had awakened, and the universe would never be the same.